Hey pals! So I wanted to do a quick video about like staying motivated during quarantine, specifically because I do a lot of those Instagram story AMA stickers, right? One of the things I've noticed is that one of the questions I always get, whether I got a bunch of questions that time or barely any, somewhere in there is always something along the lines of like, how do you stay motivated during quarantine? How have you stayed so motivated to build during COVID? And I didn't really realize until I spoke to some friends that I tend online to give off this air of like, everything's great all the time, I'm motivated, we're building, we're working, we're doing all the things, right? And so I kind of wanted to take some time today to talk a little bit about that, be a little more real about that, I think, and also to share with you guys 5 coping mechanisms I do use. Would they be coping mechanisms? I feel like they're coping mechanisms. 5 things I do to help motivate myself throughout this weird situation we got ourselves in here. And when I say be more real, I by no means mean that I'm ever fake online. Like the Sophie you see in my Instagram stories and on my live streams, that's me through and through. I can only be me. What I mean is that you see a lot of like me being bubbly and excited because this is what I love. I'm passionate. I'm online with you guys. I love it, right? I turned this into my full-time job because it's my passion. Building cosplays and hanging out with you guys and creating content and being at conventions. But all of those are things that I love. So you get to see me in that moment just having so much fun. You don't see a lot of the behind the scenes, like the really rough days where I can't even bring myself to sew a scrap together or print off a Cubone head pattern. Those are the things you don't see as much online. And I think it's easy to get the perception that our like favorite creators don't feel the same roller coaster we do, and that's so not true. That's what our mental health panel for Planet Comic-Con was about the other day. Again, if you haven't seen that, please go check it out. It is on their Facebook page. I think it's really important the more creators discuss mental health. Anyway, TLDR, back to motivation. So I realize there's this perception that I'm always motivated all the time because I make so much content. I've gotten really good at content packaging, so that makes it look like I'm making more content than I am. But that's a different video. So 5 ways I keep myself motivated, even on days where I literally just want to quit everything because everything sucks and I hate it all. Number 1, and arguably the most important of the 5, is be kind to yourself, being kinder to me. So when quarantine started and, conventions stopped, which were my favorite, it hit pretty hard. Like so I immediately, like, you've got to evolve your brand, right? Again, it's a full-time job. So I have to stay on it even if shows are gone. So there was the pressure of like evolving my brand, moving into that streaming space and into this space. How does that look? What am I gonna do? And I made this to-do list that was forever long. And I think that most of us are prone to doing that, like endless to-do lists. Those are so bad for your mental health. So to be kinder to me, I started making my to-do lists smaller. So 3 to 5 things that are doable within a couple of hours in the day. And if I finished those things and I still felt great, sure, I could throw a few more on there. But if I finished those things and I just wanted to be finished, I'd give myself a pat on the back for completing those things. And then I would do something I loved or go out and go shopping, watch TV, whatever it was that day that was gonna make me happy. But giving myself some me time. I think we put too much pressure on ourselves to be hyper motivated and get a million things done all the time. And then we look at other people who look like they're getting a million things done all the time. But I think the secret to that really is that a lot of people who are doing that well is they're just being kind to themselves and only doing as much as like they can handle at that time, right? Listen to yourself, listen to the way you feel, listen to your brain, because your mental health is so important, and especially during quarantine. Yeah, you're home all the time, but you don't have to fill all of that time with work. So number 1, being kind to yourself was huge for me, huge. Another way I stay motivated, and just to be clear, like these are the 5 ways I'm keeping myself motivated. It does mean that they'll work for everyone, because my next one is to just do it. Some days I don't wanna. I wake up and I just don't want to, man. I want to sleep until 5 p.m., wake up, and then just watch Love on a Spectrum endlessly because that show is amazing. So of course, listen to yourself. If you're super not into it and your mental stability isn't in a great place, then for sure, take a break. But I find that things end up getting worse the more I let them pile on me, and I know this. So maintaining a balance of being kind to myself, but also making myself build the motivation. So one example I can think of is with pain. That never would have been finished if there weren't days where I wasn't just like, come on, Sophie, do some work. and I would sit down, put on one of my favorite podcasts or my favorite playlists, and I would just start working slowly. So I'd pick a task that wasn't crazy involved and just get started on that. And as I was listening to music I loved or podcasts that were really interesting and, awakening my brain, I just would find my motivation rising throughout the day as I was building. So now I've completed this one task. You know what? I am ready to do this next task. Let's go. And maybe I would take longer breaks between if I wasn't feeling super good, but I just kept chipping away at it piece by piece. And eventually the cosplay was finished. And that is something I've now taken into my everyday. So even if I don't feel like doing anything, I'm gonna do 0. I know that I personally will feel worse. Like I said, that's not something that'll work for everybody, but for me, it really does. Once I get to it and get going, even though I'm like, oh, I don't wanna do this today, I get really proud of myself for doing it. And next thing I know, I've done 5 or 6 other things beyond that. So sometimes I do think motivation comes from within us. Also coffee, definitely coffee. So my number 2 is to just try to take baby steps forward. Like I said, pick up an easy, small task and just see how you feel doing it. Number 3 is definitely taking breaks. That's something I've always struggled with because once I get into things and I get excited, I'm like, we're just gonna do this thing. But that's how burnout happens. So I reward myself between completing tasks, right? So for instance, like if I've got a bunch of prints I need to sign, but then I also need to do all of like the packaging, between signing the prints and doing the packaging, I'll take a break. When I get started, I'll tell myself, like, okay, I'm just gonna sign all of these prints and then we're gonna go grab a Coke Zero and chill outside for a little bit, or then we're gonna go scroll through Facebook endlessly for a little bit. Whatever it may be, I try to keep myself in a like 15-minute break so I don't just scroll forever when that is what I'm doing. But there is nothing wrong with taking breaks. Go for a walk, run to the grocery store, go grab a coffee. But give yourself those breaks. That is so important, especially once you find the motivation, even if it's a little bit and you're building on it. You want to take breaks. You're not going to lose that. It's unlikely you're going to lose that motivation. It's more likely that you're going to maintain because you took those breaks to give yourself a, whew, I did that one task. It's almost time for task 2, but I'm going to take a break. So be kind to yourself. Try to build momentum within yourself. And take plenty of breaks. Another thing that's really helped me stay motivated has definitely been either talking to friends about crafting, chatting with friends in general, being a part of craft groups and going through other people's work and getting inspired and motivated by it, and also doing craft hangouts with friends. So I was doing the Creators Live for a little bit, which is coming back. We are gonna have more guests on that, where myself and several other people would get together, live stream and craft and chat and answer your questions. And oh my God, that was so much fun. And it doesn't have to be a live thing that you're doing for everyone else. You can get on Zoom or Google Hangouts, whatever it may be, with your buddies and do that. I really like that Facebook does have these chat rooms now, so you can do video in them. Obviously be careful in like weird groups and set them up with your friends. And I know a lot of people who are using them for like Friday night hangouts and everyone's having a drink and crafting or planning out their week on stream with their friends. Like, okay, next week I'm gonna do this, this, and this. And then they check in next week and they're like, did you do all of that? And it's like, well, I did 60% of it. And you know what? That's awesome. You did some of it. Be proud of yourself for that. That goes into the being kind to yourself as well, is even if you don't do 100%, if you did any percent, hell yeah, you did it. You'll just do the rest tomorrow. So number 4, a lot of my motivation, or a good portion of my motivation, certainly has come from other people and keeping in contact with my community, live stream craft nights, things of that nature. And the final way that I have stayed motivated is talking to my friends about how unmotivated I am, being honest about my feelings. So when I first started feeling this way, it was pretty like, it's not like me. I usually speed build 2 to 4 costumes every month. I've been doing that for years. I'm not like necessarily headed towards burnout because I kind of just love living on the edge. I like to cry over my costumes. I like the rush. So, but again, I'm much happier slowing down now, for sure. My point being that I'm always full of motivation. It's pretty in my nature to be able to find motivation. So when COVID happened in quarantine, and I lost all the motivation, like for real, and just started having these days where I couldn't figure out how to get it back. One of the things that I found helped me after a while was just reaching out to some friends and being honest and being like, gosh, I am so unmotivated. Like, I just can't. And they would tell me they felt the same. Pretty much all of them. In fact, I would say definitely all of them. And through that honesty and those honest discussions, that really motivated me because I didn't feel alone. So it was like, okay, it's okay to feel this way. You know, acceptance, I guess it is. Like, this is a phenomenon that's happening to everyone. Things just kind of suck right now. It's okay to have days where I just don't feel motivated. which means it's okay to have days where I build some motivation within myself. Like, I can do this. I can choose to have a better day today. And if I don't, I don't, but at least I tried. And talking to friends about their coping mechanisms and things they've done that help. Like, my friend April does a lot of outdoorsy stuff. She loves going for walks and being in nature, and I know that has helped her. I have friends who have scrapped a bunch of projects and instead picked a random project that they just are absolutely in love with. You know, sometimes when you're halfway through a project, through building a cosplay, you've been building it for so long, maybe the passion's a little because you just want to be finished. So I have friends who have put away those projects and been like, you know what, nope, I can finish them when this is all over, but right now I'm picking something that's just fun and carefree. You know, we don't really have a lot going on in terms of contests anyway, and so be damned craftsmanship, let's just have some fun. Some friends just do makeup looks now, and they love that. They're dabbling in a new skill. There are literally so many ways to attempt to build motivation within yourself. Try all of them. And I would love to hear some of yours in the comments below, because I'm always looking for new ones as well. There's days where motivation builders just aren't working, right? Like, the engine just will not turn over. At the end of the day, I think that if we just realize that we're all in this together and that it happens, you have bad days, and that's okay. Be kind to yourself, be kind to your community. But let's talk about it more. Let's chat a bit more about this time of what it has done to all of our motivations, right? That we're all going through these struggles together. That's like 5 of my ways, plus like 3 of other people's that they've told me. And I hope they were helpful in some way and I didn't ramble too much. I love you guys. Be safe out there. It is crazy, but you are not alone, and this too shall end, and we'll all be at conventions together again one day. But yeah, tell me below what you do to cope, what you do to stay motivated. There are tons of groups on Facebook to chit chat just about this type of thing. Go check them out. Please wear your masks, and happy crafting. You've got this.